Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday night live stream. This is going to be a good one. I've been anxiously awaiting to have this for quite a while, so I'm really excited. There's a couple things I want to discuss before we get started, and I get our guests here on the stream. So, for those that don't know, we actually have a new Discord channel. So, I don't know if you guys use Discord, but the link is in the description of this video. And in the Discord, you guys can ask any reefing questions, any automation questions, how to program anything. And what's nice about Discord, for those that don't use it, is it's live and it's right then and there, so I can help you right away if you have any questions or concerns. So if you haven't joined the Discord channel, it is in the link below. Furthermore, if you weren't here for the live stream last week, I have created a new YouTube channel specifically for reptiles called Reptile Automation, which I have the link as well in the description. And we will do kind of something similar that we do here with reefing. I don't know if I'll do any live streams with the reptiles, but we'll see. And for those that don't know, I have my HYDROS running my entire reptile room. So it's got a lot of great information about just using the HYDROS for reptiles, and I got a lot of great videos coming. So for those that are interested in reptiles, I think it's worth taking a look. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to bring in our guests. Today we have the infamous CoralVue guys. What's going on, folks?
How are you,
What's up,
man?
Derek? How's everything going?
So we got David and Carlos from CoralVue. We've had them on, I don't know, about 10 years ago. I don't remember the last time we had you on. But anyway, without going into anything right away, the first thing I have to say is I am so proud of you guys and what you did. I got to tell you, you guys know I've been using Neptune for many, 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 many years, and you just blew them out of the water with this release. I'm telling you right now. I'm so excited for everything you guys are doing, and I'm so happy that you have a lot of people really invested in the automation the automation aspect of reefing, and of course that's my favorite part of reefing. But anyway, I think it's fantastic. I just want to say congratulations directly to you guys. I think it's
Thank you.
I mean,
yeah, we appreciate that.
phenomenal.
We try,
really.
you know. It's,
And the greatest thing about it, folks, is they listen to us, and I think that's the greatest part. You know, there's a lot of companies out there, and CoralVue is one of those companies that if you say something on the forum, they're listening every time. And I think it's fantastic. So I just wanted to start with that.
You know, it may not happen right away,
Yeah.
and I think that's the one thing that we say. It's like, just because we're not doing everything yesterday doesn't mean we're not listening to you. It's just going to take us a while. I mean, if you're in your job or any type of product development, and not just product development, but in your job, you have a priorities list.
Mm-hmm.
And that list has, you have to prioritize things in order to get to be somewhat efficient at your job, whatever you do. And that's the aspect we have to apply to this. We have a wish list, but we also have a priority list that we need to cover.
Exactly. And, I don't hide my feelings towards, multiple different companies, but one of the biggest things that I always say is if you're listening and you're creating products that help the hobby and help us succeed, that's really the ultimate goal of this hobby, is to succeed. And there hasn't been a lot of things in the hobby that have allowed me to succeed as easily as something like my CoralVue Hydro system. And again, I use it for a reptile room, but it really doesn't matter what you use it for. The fact that I have a device that I don't have to worry about ever is really, it's a big deal. And I think you guys really hit the nail on the head when you came up with a device that is not only simple to use, but makes people succeed. And I think that's the biggest goal here, is they're hooking up something and they're not, having to spend days and days and days on it trying to figure it out. It's just plug it in and you're done.
And it was tricky to figure out something because it's very easy to fall into the trap of one size fits all, or trying to make one thing work for everybody. Mm-hmm. And that is the one thing that at the beginning of the process we said, there is no such thing as a one size fits all. Some people are going to be happy, some people are not going to be happy. But if we create it with different brains, different options, then you can create something that works for you. And that's the thing, is people need to remember that what works for you may not work for the next person, and what works for the next person may not work for you. Just because the next person is not using that doesn't mean it's wrong. It just doesn't work for them. So coming up with a product that allows you to build something that is for you, it's incredibly difficult and challenging, but we're trying. And can we say we're succeeding? Probably not, but we're trying.
I don't know. I got to tell you, you know me pretty well. I'm pretty picky, and I'm pretty, I check and I see what the pulse is of the hobby quite a bit. I mean, sometimes I'm out of line, but generally I try to stay with the hobby. I try to look what people are liking, look what people are not liking, and I voice my opinion as well.
Yep.
And really, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of bad that I'm hearing. Everyone was super excited about all the new products. I mean, I got to be honest. I think you are underestimating yourself. I mean, I really believe that.
Well, yeah, Derek, I was going to say, I've heard maybe our competitors refer to us as a DIY project, and
is that such a bad thing?
Is that such a bad thing that we're trying to make something that we call our motto is aquarium automation for everyone,
right?
And we want to have people. Every system is different. Everybody's aquarium is doing something different, or something different that they want to control or do something different. Why not have a product that allows them to do that, where they're just not married to one centralized brain, and then everything else has to fall into place. We give you multiple options, multiple brains to do many different things. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. And I think some people get it, but, some people, they still only used to, what's been on the market for a lot longer than us.
Yeah.
Well,
I was going to say, your audience is huge on DIY.
Yeah.
I mean, if you give, that's he is the target audience when it comes to DIY stuff.
The thing is, I'm going to mention, there's a couple comments here I'm going to talk about, but the fact of the matter is, like everyone knows, every system is different, so you can't cater to every single person, no matter how hard you try. You just can't. The more products you sell, the more products you make that give that opportunity, the better off you are. Trust me. I mean, I have 48 Neptune modules, right? I mean, the reason I have 48 is because my system is so complex. Now, could I go over to you guys and spend a week with you and design a system that will work for my house? Yeah, but I'd probably be one of 10,000 that actually need that. I mean,
exactly. That's the thing. It's like even in product development, you still have to consider the 80-20 principle. You have to. I mean, it's like you're developing for the 80, but you can't develop for the 20. I mean, there's no such thing, as we said, a one size fits all. If I develop for the 80, then the 20 is going to be upset or otherwise. We just try to. It's a nice balancing act that we have to go. We have to give. Do we wish that we could do everything? Yes, we do. But at the end of the day, when you get into actual product development, then you learn that you can't do everything. You just can't.
You can't, and it shows with my reptile room. I didn't want to put my Apex in my reptile room. I was like, I got to go spend another $1,000 just to get a mister working and run a wire in my walls and all this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try out the CoralVue. I hadn't. This was way when you guys started it, of course. I'm like, I'm going to try this out and see how great it is. And everyone's talking how amazing it is. I put in there. I was done, no joke, in 5 minutes.
Yes.
And I didn't have to run wires in my wall.
Did you do the DIY humidity sensor?
I didn't. I have another whole system that does my humidity
Okay.
that I found to be just phenomenal. And what I like about it, if you guys have a chance, I'm going to make a video on it on my Reptile channel. But It. Are you familiar with Crestron at all? If I say that name.
Yeah.
So I have a Crestron system. That's my main job. I'm a Crestron programmer. I've been doing it for 20 years. And what's nice about this other product, it's called Sensor Push, is it integrates with my Crestron. So I'm able to make touch panels and all kinds of crazy things with my Reptile room. However, the CoralVue HYDROS is controlling all the important stuff, the misting, the lights, all the important things I need to get running my system. And I don't really need any sensors for that, obviously. But, I mean, I haven't touched it in months. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I don't even touch it. It works, and I don't have to worry about it.
That is what it's supposed to be doing. You're not supposed. Once you set it up, the whole point is for you to walk away, not for you to tinker every single day on it.
Right.
If you're tinkering every single day, you're defeating the purpose. So
yeah, but then on the off chance you find someone like me who likes to tinker all the time, then
Right. Well,
it's kind of annoying that I don't get to play with it as much anymore. So there's a good comment in here. Where is it? Greg was saying, where is it? Carlos is in Louisiana. No, we have a special 3D program that I'm using. He's in Chicago, and David's not even in Louisiana. He's in Hawaii.
Green screen, real time. He's actually not here right now, but it looks like he's here.
But yes, I was very excited when they showed me this kind of secret room back here with all this cool stuff. I was like, maybe we'll get to see something cool out of this. Let's see.
So this is the HYDROS assembly room, Derek. So everything that's all the SMT stuff is running upstairs where we producing boards and doing some final solder work, and then we'll bring everything back into this area and start physical assembly.
Yes.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, a lot of people ask. I think you're about to say what I was going to say. Is a lot of people ask where everything's assembled, so it's good to see it.
I was just going to say, for those folks that still think that we get everything from China, no. I mean, it's here's Louisiana. Upstairs is the SMT machine. We were debating, do we do it from the SMT or do it? But the SMT seems to be a little loud, so we decided to do it from here.
We have a lot of people on here that are very, very picky about audio. Like if audio isn't perfect, I get texts on my phone. Get your audio working. So I'm glad you didn't do that.
Well, we're using Rode Wireless Go 2. So
I have those too. They're great. They're great. I have those
hopefully
too.
Hopefully that's acceptable for everybody.
All right, so let's get into the kind of the nitty gritty. I'm going to start. I had emailed you guys earlier about this, so hopefully you're prepared. But the biggest thing that I want to discuss is Ethernet. Now, the reason I want to discuss this is because I have a lot of people on my channel specifically, and I see it in your forum quite a bit. There is just compounded issues with Wi-Fi. Now, it's nothing to do with you guys. I mean, it really isn't. But what was the decision to make never, or at this point, not having Ethernet on any of your products? Because, again, I would believe, and again, it's coming from a nice, how do I put this? It's coming from me caring about you guys. I would think it would help you guys in your support, and you wouldn't have as many support issues if someone can just plug it into an Ethernet. So I'm just curious, was it a cost, size, you couldn't fit it in the box? I mean, what's the reasoning you guys never put an Ethernet on?
You want to start, and then
yeah, sure. So, I mean, the obvious reason is the IP65 rating.
Okay.
You put Ethernet in there, it's gone. That IP65 rating is gone. And if the device can't communicate, then it's pretty much gone. The second reason is because of Canbus technology. Canbus technology is meant to transfer very little data, but transfer it really, really fast and incredibly reliably. So the technology was not, for those people that are asking, well, can you put an Ethernet port in here, or can you do an adapter that goes from Ethernet to Canbus and then transfer the data through Canbus? It's a little bit of a lack of knowledge on how Canbus works, because Canbus was not created for that. It wasn't.
It's mostly in vehicles. I see Canbus in vehicles all the time.
It's vehicles. It's airplanes. It's to send. You know what? I want to be able to have my car for 10 years. It's never deployed the airbag, But if I get on an accident on a 10-year-old car, I still want the airbag to deploy. That's what Canbus was developed for. That type of reliability, but also very little data. So if you're trying to transfer internet data, which is a lot of data through the Canbus, it's like trying to transfer data through this tiny little hole. It's just not going to work.
Understood.
So, yes, could we have developed something with Ethernet? Yes. Are we constantly looking for other ways to increase the reliability? Yes. But you know what? Again, it comes back to product development. You have to make, at some point, you have to make a decision. Because if you don't, then you're never going to end up with a product.
You know, one thing we looked at too, Derek, when we, started this project, we discussed the hardwire Ethernet, but we also wanted to make something that was robust and could hold up in an aquarium environment. And we were like, well, how many people are really using Ethernet with these other controllers that are on the market? So we kind of did like an informal survey, and it was, I would say, I don't remember what the exact, but it was over 80% that people were using the Wi-Fi connection.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, so we're going to compromise our architecture that we had in place with going with a waterproof design, something that could hold up to the elements, for something that maybe 20% of the market's ever going to utilize. So that was, all played into the decision making, when we set out on this path. But I think the biggest thing, and Carlos, you could correct me if I'm wrong, that we're seeing is when we're talking about Wi-Fi issues, it's the Wi-Fi strip.
Yes, it's the Wi-Fi strips. I think that's the biggest thing, and we are working on, well, here, I'll tell you.
Awesome.
The biggest thing about Wi-Fi strips that we wanted to do is reliability. Okay, so we wanted to make sure that the Wi-Fi strips, the HYDROS controller and the Wi-Fi strips could communicate regardless of you having internet access or not. So we decided to grab, everybody says Toya, which is great. Toya is great, but with Toya, the problem and the benefit, double-edged sword, is that Toya, the command comes from your phone or from whatever it is. It goes up to the cloud, and then it comes back down. So that takes time. There's a latency problem in there. So then you have something that you could send, and it's going to take 4 to 5 seconds for it to actually, go there. You could put them right next to each other, but it doesn't matter because you got to go up to the cloud and come back down.
That's how a lot of systems are, though. I mean, that's how most of them are.
Exactly. But the problem with that is that if you lose your internet, then that connection is severed. Then nothing happens. So we decided, okay, you know what? Let's bypass that by creating a communication process where it goes from the HYDROS through your router and then to the Wi-Fi strip. And that's the way we did it. Now, were we right? Maybe. Were we wrong? Probably. I don't know. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a backdoor so that if your local communication is not working, then try to go through the cloud.
Okay.
Some communication is better than no communication at all. Try to go through the cloud, and if the cloud doesn't work, then send me a notification. So that should mitigate a lot of the issues that people are having with Wi-Fi strips. At the end of the day, though, and this is, I think most of your viewers will agree, is that if you want ultimate reliability, then you probably need to go with something like an XP8.
Right, which when you announced it, I was like, thank God. I mean, and I was.
The thing about it is that, and it's timing is everything, as they say, for comedians and also for product development. Because the XP8 was not, and I tell you right now, Derek, it was not meant to take that long.
Right.
It wasn't. But it was just a victim of COVID. I mean, COVID hit and everything got pushed down. And then we could not find the chips. We had to redesign it to find whatever we had there. So the XP8 was supposed to be out there probably 1.5 to 2 years before, prior to the actual date when it was released. It it wasn't meant to be that way. And I tell you, you know, if you look at back in history, you'll probably say if we had released the XP8 at the same time we released everything else, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's possible. I mean, I will tell you from my experience, because I think as a IT professional, because I install networks for a living. You know, I went to school for IT. I have a degree in it, and that's my saving grace for what I'm about to say. I have 3 HYDROS in my house, and each one of the controllers, I have never had a single issue with it, and I said that at the beginning of our stream. However, as you said, I do have your single outlets, and I have the 4-strip, which I actually don't use anymore because I got an XP8 now. But when I had the 4-strip and when I had the single, it would just go offline all of a sudden for no reason. I would say firmware updates and a few other things have rectified that quite a bit. It's not as bad as it used to be. But my viewers know I say this all the time. I've just never been excited about Wi-Fi power in any form. I just, especially for something like an aquarium where you have such an investment, and you know, some people of course have emotional, like I have emotional attachment to it too. So if it was, yeah, and if it was an outlet that just went, oh boy, we're getting mega girls in my channel again. Hopefully. Oh, there's a lot of them going on. Hold on. But you see where I'm going with this, and I think if there was a way that, if it was me, I would say, is there a way you can make a Canbus to Ethernet module? You know, that doesn't have to be IP rated or anything. That's just there so that someone can have the ability to hook up their entire system to Ethernet if they needed to or wanted to. Like in my case, I would always want even my XP8, because it's still Wi-Fi, right? But it does have the outlets that are significantly better. And you know, you I don't have to say this, but you guys make it, whereas the other one is kind of, let's just put it in the we don't really make it kind of category, but that's neither here nor there. The point I'm making is the XP8 works much, much better than the Wi-Fi power strip, and the price shows. I mean, there's a reason it's more expensive and it's more robust, and it's just a better product. But if there was an Ethernet to get to that, then you have full reliability. Again, it's my opinion.
Okay, so this is one thing that I want to make clear for everybody, and it's obviously we have a lot of people that are IT for your channel, and this is going to sound very redundant. But there's also newbies out there, so I want to make sure I say this. And it's like, just because you cannot, let's say your Wi-Fi drops for whatever reason, and you cannot access the controller, so you go to the app and it doesn't control, that doesn't mean that the controller is not doing its job. That just means that you can't access the controller to see what's going on. But the controller itself, the brain, the configuration is on each of those controllers, and each of those controllers knows exactly what it needs to do, regardless of you being able to see it or not.
Correct.
And let's be real. Sometimes, let's be honest, we go on vacation. We go on vacation. We're 10 days away from our tanks when we're not tinkering, and most of the time, let's be honest, our tanks look better when we're not there because we're not tinkering with them. We're not putting our hands in there. So it's the same with it. So the controller is, just because you can't see what the controller is doing doesn't mean that the controller is not doing it. So let me clarify that. So if your Wi-Fi drops, it doesn't mean your controller is not doing anything. It can't do anything.
Right.
It can still continue to monitor. You just can't see it. So that's the big thing. And the second thing about it is that when you said module Ethernet to Canbus module, the problem again, and you get to this, but then that module communicates to the other modules using what? Canbus.
Yeah, the Canbus, right.
So yeah, you can get big data into one, but then how do you get a lot of data from one to the other? That's the thing.
I see your point.
It's not as easy as just create a module to bring all that information there. You still have to transfer that information from one device to the other, and that's where you have to use Canbus, and that's where the limiting factor is.
I see.
But with Wi-Fi, and you've told this to your viewers also, and this is something that I'm surprised. Wi-Fi, people need to know that Wi-Fi does not travel through water. That's doesn't.
Correct.
There's a reason.
That's absolutely correct.
There's a reason why you never will ever find a Wi-Fi underwater camera, because it doesn't work.
Right.
So when you're putting, let's say your controller is on the left-hand side, your router is on the right-hand side, and your tank is in the middle, you're gonna have your controller in a Wi-Fi dead spot.
Yeah, just like putting it in a metal box. It's the same thing.
Exactly. So you'd be surprised how many people I go back and say, they come back with me and says, oh, my Wi-Fi strips are having issues, or my controller's having issues. And I ask them the question and says, okay, you know what? Let's just temporarily move it to this location just to try. And sometimes I don't hear back from them. And sometimes they come back and say, hey, Carlos, that worked. And I go, yeah, because Wi-Fi doesn't travel through water. And it's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know. And then they don't make the mistake again.
You made a really good point there. The fact that we're in the aquarium hobby, and we have, in some cases, gigantic, huge aquariums in the middle of our house, and we have a Wi-Fi access point on one side and your computer on the other side. Oh, I get calls about that too. It's like, well, we're gonna have to put 2 access points in. We're gonna have to put one on one side of the tank and one on the other side of the tank, because it's just not going to travel.
And putting another thing that I have is putting an extender in that side doesn't do you any help, because the extender is still relying on that really spotty Wi-Fi to connect to the router.
Yeah, so you'd have to have a hardwired access point.
What you're doing is 2 devices that can't connect to the router instead of 1 device. And that's the key between, and you know this because I know you've preached this before, there's a big difference between an extender and an access point. And just because you put an extender doesn't mean that things are going to be fixed. You have to install the extender correctly in order for it to be fixed.
Correct. So that I think people are getting. They're like, why are you talking about Wi-Fi? Well, it's the one thing I've been wanting to talk to you guys about for months, and I'm glad you explained it. I really am. And yeah, if you guys come out with an Ethernet device, more for us crazy people, then that's great. If you don't, it's not gonna hurt me in any way. I just, again, from a personal standpoint, it's like all I see is people complaining about Wi-Fi. It just seems to be the only thing that people have problems with, and we see that as well. And that is one of the things that is, our priority list is always number 1.
Look at that Wi-Fi. Is there a way we can make it better? Is there out there? Did Rover ESP32 chip come out with a firmware update that a core update that makes it better? Do the Wi-Fi strips have a core update firmware that makes it better? We're always looking into things like that to try to make it better, because at the end of the day, I'm just going to say an example. Toya is a company that makes Wi-Fi strips. They have thousands, millions of dollars on R&D to do this. So, we also look at them. How are they doing things? Is there anything that we can do to make it better on our end? That's
terrific.
The one thing that always do.
That's good, because I think that's the only thing that, as an outsider looking in, I you guys are good guys, and you guys are always trying to help us and make us better hobbyists, of course. And it's just, all I see is I'm having an issue with my Wi-Fi. I'm having an issue with my Wi-Fi. And I feel bad. It's like, and then of course I go back, and I'm glad you explained it to me today, but I always go back to just throw an Ethernet on there and call it a day. But I'm glad you guys explained it. So, all right, so we're going to move on, because I know people are like, talk about cooler stuff. So let's talk about some cooler stuff. So the X10. X10's awesome. And this is what I really like about it the most. Is the fact that it's an all-in-one solution. It's like when when people make their all-in-one tanks, right? You got Innovative Marine and Waterbox that make all-in-one kits. It's plug and play. And when you guys thought about this, it's like, okay, this is what we're talking about with automation. A single product that'll do everything that you need it to do to be a successful reefer. And I thought it was, I really did. I looked at it, I go, wow. When I first saw a picture of it, I go, are those pumps on the side? I couldn't believe it. I was like, man. So this is, and again, I'm not trying to like. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm having trouble with my vocabulary tonight. Um, I don't want to like smooch up to you guys, but let me tell you, this was great. This was even better than the Kraken and the Ivy. I think this is your big one here. The fact that you came out with a device that anyone with an all-in-one or even a big sump and whatever can buy, and they have a full solution. That's it. They don't need anything else. So I commend you for it. I think it's a great product. I really do.
Yeah, and we wanted to do that because it's like we are, at the end of the day, you and I, Dave and I, and Connor, who's part of the team, and even surprisingly enough, people don't think about this. Our main engineer, he's a hobbyist.
Yeah.
So he's technically creating things for his own tank. Mm-hmm. That's what he's doing. So
I do the same thing with restaurants, so I get it. It's the same.
Exactly. But we wanted to create something that was capable of doing everything, but we still wanted to keep it somewhat in a price range that people would be willing to pay. And I'm sorry, $799. It's practically, it's almost a giveaway, because if you were to grab the competitors, any of the competitor controllers out there, and come up with the same package with all the things that the X10 has, you're well over $1,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the time will tell, and I'm interested to see what next year when it comes out, how well it sells, because it is a pill to swallow. $800 is a lot of money. From a company that has had a lot of affordable isn't the right word. Let's just say things that people can easily get their hands on for a very low price. $800 is going to be tough, and I'm curious to see. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I want to see what happens, and I want to see how many of those people get, because $800, it does go into more of the apex level of price, but you are getting more, as you said. But that's where your marketing department, and I know Carlos is going to do it, is going to say, well, this is why it's $800. This is what you get.
Once you think about it, you have the you have the four dosing pumps that can go as low as 0.1 milliliters per minute.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how, and they are dead quiet, Derek. I mean, obviously you have the roller sound. There's no way you can get around that. But the actual motor, you can't even hear it.
That's really good, especially for people like Devin who constantly calls me, this thing's loud. Do you have any ideas to make it quiet?
We're using some German driver chips in there called Tridonics, and I mean, these chips, the way they drive these motors is absolutely no noise from them. It's incredible.
That's really
Look
great.
them up. This company, this is what they do. They create driver chips for pumps. That's all they do. So it's like, why are we going to develop that? Why are we going to create software that can create a soft start, different gears, soft start, and all this stuff? It's like, why, when we can get those chips? And amazingly, we were able to get those chips. So what did we do? We pretty much bought them all.
Yeah, as many as we could get.
We bought them all. Yeah. But okay, so you got that.
So what does it come with, actually? If you don't mind, while you're explaining, a lot of people are asking, what is the pack? Do you even know what the package is going to come with? Like, if I spend $800, what am I getting? Let me ask you that.
So you get the 4 high precision dosing pumps already integrated. There's no Wi-Fi. There's nothing. It's already there. Exactly. You get a pH and ORP port. That's a given. You also get 4 universal sensors. Not, you can put leaks. You can put water sensor. You can put a skimmer sensor, temperature sensor. You can put whatever you want in there. You get 2 12-volt drive ports as well. And on top of that, you also get a salinity connectivity port.
We're going to talk about that next. But yeah, so does it come with the probes? Does it come with any power supplies?
Yes, it actually comes with a standard double junction pH port. Yep. And it will also come with a K10 conductivity probe. Not a K1, a K10. Now, if you go into Atlas Scientific, which is a well-known company known for probes, if you go to Atlas Scientific, the cheapest K10 probe will run you about $180.
Wow, they've gone up in price a lot.
Well, because if you get a K1 probe, see, the problem is that in this hobby, we've been, for the last 20 years, we've never been educated on the K factor of a conductivity probe.
That tells you if it's seawater or fresh water, or not tells you, sorry. It's
Or-
meant for those
or-
specific things.
Exactly. In a lab, you buy the conductivity probe that fits the environment in which you're going to be putting that probe into. You
Right.
can't put you can't put a K1 probe in sewage. It's not going to work. And yes,
Probably not.
Well, but you laugh, but actually in sewage, conductivity is it's one of the things that they use to measure, the amount of
Waste.
waste. That is
Oh,
how they do
interesting.
it.
Huh.
So that's the one thing that we haven't been educated in this probe, because nobody's pretty much asked about it, or they companies haven't been freely giving you that information. Maybe they don't want you to know. I don't know. It's speculation. You can come up with whatever you want on that one. But here at HYDROS, it's like, you know what? We just want you to have we want to inform you, or at least help you understand why certain things are done a certain way.
It's nothing proprietary
Nope.
when you're looking at these probes and in terms of how they work and what each K factor is rated to test in.
So we have, there's always someone going at me in this, so it's fun because I love that stuff. I already have the TDS meters, Sammy. That was the first thing I bought for my CoralVue because it's the greatest thing that they've ever made. It is better than anything else they make. The TDS meters are the best. So yes, I get notification. Sammy31 asked, I'm surprised he hasn't asked for his TDS meter notifications to his phone. And I go, oh yeah, I asked for it, and oh yeah, I got it.
Sammy, I'll give you a little secret. The reason why we did the TDS is because I got sick and tired of listening to Derek.
Oh, trust me,
it was Derek asking for it, and we're like, you know what? He's got a pretty good point. Let's talk to Brad from Auto Aqua and say, hey, you know what? Hey, you guys do this for a living. Can you do something like this? And they're like, yeah, we can. So we just partner with them.
When those came out, I bought them immediately. Like, it wasn't even a thought in my mind. I just bought them. I was like, I don't care what they cost. I'm buying them.
It's all about partnerships.
Yeah, and you know what?
Expensive option.
No.
It's absolutely, and I'm going to tell you right now, guys, the fact that I now get a notification it's time to change your filters when you're making as much water as I'm making for 3 fish tanks in my house, plus my reptile room sprays misting to all 20 of my... I mean, I go through water like crazy, and the fact that I can now know when I have to replace it, I mean, it's worth its weight in gold. Someone asked if you can show you can put the X10 a little closer. We're curious about what the size is. I think people are wondering how big it is.
All right. So here's the X10. Here's my hand.
Okay, so it's not that big. Unless Carlos is a globetrotter and we don't know about that.
Here, scissors.
Pair
Pair of scissors. Something like that. I was gonna grab $1, but
Well, we know Carlos, you're a globetrotter on the side,
Yeah.
so you probably have really big hands. So
yeah, no, this is a standard, pair of scissors right here. So that tells you how much. Yeah, see how like that.
Okay. It looks to be about the same size as an XP8. I mean, kind of close to it.
You know what? The XP8 box is probably slightly bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's any other questions. We have a little break here. Greg. Yeah, for me as an IT guy, hardwiring everything is big. Again, if you're not in the field, you wouldn't understand, but I go through it on a daily basis. I go to hospitals that have Wi-Fi problems all the time, Differences between Lee. I'm not going to do that. He's asking for the difference between all of your controllers. I think the best thing to do there is just go online. They have so many different controllers, and I think that'll be helpful. And Connor, I think, is on there. Maybe he wants to spend some time typing for the next hour to explain all the different ones.
Or just you know what, send an email to support@coralvue.com, and we'll be happy to help him out. There's actually a chart that we can email him, and it'll show him exactly what each controller has.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, Greg, go ahead and report me to California for my water usage. That'll do well.
You're in Arizona. Aren't they? Yeah. Hey, aren't they going to start to limit your water intake?
Yes. I'm not looking forward to it because I also have things outside that I'm doing with my water. I have a huge reptile pen in my backyard that I do misting and all kinds of crazy things. So.
Wow, I heard about that. It's like, ooh, yeah.
So anyway, on the X10, I've given it its praise. I think it's awesome. So I'm curious about one thing, and I think we had a lot of people ask about this. I would say more than I was shocked. What is going to happen in terms of the not necessarily the warranty process, but more of what if your pumps have problems, or let's say what if a port has an issue? Since it's a do-it-yourself product, how is someone? I don't know how to ask this question, but everyone's been asking. Well, what if your pump goes? Does that mean my whole controller goes down? Like a lot of people are curious about that.
So here there are 4 screws in the front. You remove the 4 screws and pop the lid open, and on the back there's going to be 4 quick Molex quick connect to the pump. So all you got, there's no soldering. You unhook the Molex connector, and then from that there's 1 screw on the side for pump. You can take it out, pull the main motor out, which is really easy to do. Replace the motor, split connect the Molex, put the 4 screws, and you're done. I mean, trust me, we designed this in a way. I mean, a lot of the thought process was, we know shit happens. Any manufacturer that tells you that nothing is going to fail, they're just lying to you. I mean, they're lying to you because things are going to fail. That's just the way it is. So if things are going to fail, let's design them in a way that it's easy for a customer to make the change. Now, obviously, the customer can send the thing to us. We can we can change it out. But if you're just a little bit of the DIY, take the things, put it yourself, exchange it, hook the Molex, and you're set to go.
It's literally 5 minutes.
It's 5 minutes.
So I think that was the biggest concern that I heard. Like I said, I have a lot of people asking me. This was the biggest question people wanted me to ask you is, and I think you answered it, but I just want to ask it one more time. If a pump fails, the controller has nothing to do with it. The controller will still do what it needs to do. They're independent then, correct. Can you say?
Correct. Each pump is individual. If the pump fails and the controller detects that it's not using the amount of power, or you're not getting the feedback in terms of RPMs from it, then the controller will let you know right away, hey, there's an issue with pump 1.
Okay.
And then you contact
so they're independent, support. Which of course I figured they were, but I did want to ask.
I wanted to mention too, Derek, these pumps that we're using, we team with Camor, who we distribute for.
Fantastic
Camor
pumps.
They actually provide a medical grade, a lot of pumps, parasolic stepper motors for medical equipment. That's their main industry. That's what they use, these motors, in some of their medical equipment. So the aquarium division is a very small part of what this manufacturer does.
So and another thing what makes it clear is that we're using the Camor pumps, but HYDROS, we are the ones driving it. Correct. We're the ones controlling it. So we're just using their hardware.
And I'm just going to briefly mention this. The new Camor alkalinity tester, I thought it looked really good. I thought it looks like a slam dunk product. I mean, it does. And I'm sure you guys will integrate it. I mean, I'm positive you guys will integrate it.
You know what? We can come back on another show and just do that on that one, because I as soon as he sent it to me and I looked at it, I'm like, holy crap, Dave, this is awesome. This is great.
And it's
This is
small.
so-
I mean,
It's
small
like a
is,
medical piece of equipment.
you know, small
It
is,
is.
it's not super small, but it's small. It's not one of these huge bricks we gotta, you know, put in like Reef Bot. But you know, you
But
gotta,
you know what?
it's a good size.
It is. I even say it's almost like wife, significant other approved. Because
Yeah, it looks nice. It looks like a,
Yeah.
it looks like something you could put next to your bed as for medical, you know, some medical piece of equipment.
It does exactly. It does look like that. No, yeah. I mean, it's an excellent show, and we're working with Camor right now. So by the time it comes out, it'll be fully integrated into HYDROS.
Which is fantastic. And you know, I know you guys have your, and we're going to discuss this a little bit, but I know you guys have the alkalinity testing coming with your product. But I always like having a standalone, by itself product that I can just test alkalinity. I don't have to worry about, you know, running wires everywhere and running tube. It's just plug it in and I'm done. You know. So
Yeah,
getting to, go ahead.
I was just going to say the integration is going to be through API. So no wires, no BNC cables running from one device to the other. It's going to be through the API. I mean,
which is how it should be. I mean, that's how it should be in this day of age. You know, it should be that this day and age. I think everyone should be doing that. I surprise myself when I see a product come out and go, really? Like, you know, there's so many products out there, and it's like, you guys you just don't want to just do Wi-Fi and we control this thing, call it a day?
Well, BNC cables were okay, you know, back then. Now everything is going through wireless cloud access. So that's where everything is. So we at HYDROS, we made the decision. We don't want to do cables. We're going to do API. And again, it's all about partnerships. We have a great partnership with Camor, you know, and it was just a no-brainer. And it actually is. It's been a very great experience. Amy at Camor has been just gracious and just, she says, how can we do it? And you know, and that's a little thing that I'm going to tell you right now. When we're at MACNA, it was the first time where companies were coming to us and says, how can we make our product work with HYDROS?
Good. That's how it should be.
And when I got that question in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, you know, we're finally you're seeing the fruits of our you know, our work.
And I said it at the beginning. I know I'm going to repeat myself, but I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. I mean, I'm telling you, and I've been doing this for a long time, that these are groundbreaking products. I have to be honest with you. They really are.
Derek, we're trying to break down these walled gardens that we like to, you know, describe them as, and it's like, you know, we can't expect. I'd love for everybody to think they're going to have all CoralVue products on their tank. It's not possible. It's just not. It's not even in the realm of thought. That people like different products from other manufacturers. So why can't we all try and work together?
They all should play nice. I can't tell you how frustrating it was that I had and I've always had Neptune. You guys know that, and I couldn't control my lights. I'm driving. I can't turn off and on my lights. Really, I have to plug it into, and then I can't control my dosers. I got to go get their dosers. It's like, come on, really? Is it that?
It's such a. Let's be honest. It's such a small industry. Yep. It doesn't have to be this way.
I know, and I always think that everyone loves automation and everyone loves what I'm doing, but that's not the case. I mean, there's so many people that love it easy too. You know. Which, you know, I was hoping to get into, like, but
we get support tickets where it's like, you know, all I want is a pump that turns on and off. That's it. And you know, and I understand that. I mean, it's like I said, it's like there's no such thing as a one size fits all.
Well, that's, you know, my channel, you know, hopefully over time will grow, but that's why my channel's not the biggest channel, because my people, the people that watch me, my people. They're very techy, you know, they're very do-it-yourself driven, and I love that stuff, don't get me wrong, but you got to cater to everyone like we discussed. But going on, I got a couple more things, and I really wanted to ask you about one thing. I want to make sure I ask you about it. Oh my goodness, I'm getting a bunch of this girl porn crap. Hold on. I get this. I don't know what it is. I get it on every one of my streams. Lovelace or something comes on. I don't know who the heck it is. But anyway, the Kraken. I have just a couple things I want to discuss about it. I think you guys have really explained it well enough. Oh my God, it's just continuing. I hope we have people in here that can ban. Looks like my mods never want to come on when I have a stream. But anyway, so I have a couple. I'm not going to go into it too in depth because, like I said, the X10 was really my go-to when I saw what you guys are releasing. I have just a couple questions on it. The first question is, have you done tests based on different batteries to figure out how long it can last on something? Have you done any tests with it yet? Like if I have 2 of this pump, I can get 20 hours or something. Like, have you done anything like that?
Well, we because I mean, at the end of the day, it's not based on the pump. It's actually based on the draw. Mm-hmm. It's all based on the draw. So, it's like asking me, if I run 2 pumps, it's going to last this. And the answer is it's not as simple. Now, if you tell me if I'm drawing 20 watts and I have a 70 amp hour, how long will it last me? Then I can give you that because you're giving me actually mathematicals. You're giving me keys that I can plug into a formula and give you the answer.
Is that something you guys might add to your website so people have a general idea?
Absolutely.
Calculator.
Yes,
yep.
we can. We can easily add a calculator. Now we are going to. Our plan is to start building a library of kind of like products in the wattage, but even that gets a little complicated because I can like an OP4, like an Octopulse 4. I can give you the wattage at 100%, but then you have different wattage at different intensities.
Maybe just put in wattage. Maybe just put in wattage and not mention any products. Maybe just say if it's 50 watt load, this is how much life you're going to get on this particular battery.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's a common. If you Google right now amp hour calculator, you can do that yourself because it's going to ask you the amp hour, it's going to ask you the voltage, and it's going to ask you the amps using or the wattage using, and then it'll tell you exactly. It'll calculate and spew it out. It'll tell you.
I'm not gonna say my people. I did it almost again. I love my viewers. They're so funny, but it's great because I like to have fun. I'm not a serious guy ever. You should ask my wife. Like I'm always joking. I don't know. Anyway. So programming-wise on the Kraken, is that going to be something you can program the battery backup? Which outlets you would like to go on when the battery backup comes on? Okay, yeah, I kind of figured.
You can actually do that right now with the the ice cap battery on a wave engine. If you have a collective, you bring a ice cap battery into the collective through a wave engine, you can do that as well. So it doesn't change anything. It's the same thing. You create a new mode called low power mode, and then you tell it exactly, okay, I want you to run this schedule, I want you to run this pump at this intensity, I want you to turn off this or not run this outlets, and then you tell the controller on the options page which mode is your low power mode, and I call it low power. You can call it hurricane mode, you can call it battery mode, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't make a difference. You just define it, and then that's it. As soon as the collective, the HYDROS, detects a power outage, then it'll activate that mode, and whatever you told that mode to do, that's what it will do.
So again, what if
it's all about creating a system that allows you to customize it for you. Because up until now, all the battery backup systems are there like one size fits all. Here's a 2.5 amp. Yeah. Here's a 2.5 amp hour battery, and whether you have a 300-gallon system or a 10-gallon system, this should work for you. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
So with that being said, how is that going to work if you have multiple rooms and only specific room goes out of power? Let's say and that's where the Kraken is. So let's say your Kraken's in the garage, right? And you have a collective going to another room to another controller. How is it going to know or be able to know that room went off where the Kraken is, but it didn't in the other room?
The collective will go down as low power because one of the devices is in low power mode.
Okay, that was my question.
That's correct. So that is correct. Okay. Because you could have You could have here's where it gets tricky, and this is where the engineers and I start thinking of all these things, because what if you have two systems? What if you have a pump pumping from room A to room B, and then another pump going from B to C, and then one from C to A, but room B goes into low power, so now you got all this water coming in from A, but now you don't have that much water going from B to C, so then you're causing the problem. So that's where everything has to go into a low power mode, and then warn you, so then you can go in there and make the decision as to what you want to do. So it's not as simple as two rooms. You see, you have to think beyond. It's like a chess game. You have to think 3 or 4 steps ahead of what could happen, instead of just one particular, outage. Exactly.
Okay, I think again, I appreciate you saying that, because for me that's important, because I have so many multiple systems running, and it's nice to know which system might have lost power. Here in Arizona, we don't lose power very often, but I trip GFCIs all the time, so it's nice to know, which room went out.
If you have a collective on room A and a collective on room B, and then room B loses power, obviously the collective in room B is going to go into low power mode, but the collective in room A is not, because it's isolated. They're not the same collective. But if you have a collective that goes into 3 different rooms, and one room loses power, then the entire collective is going to go into a low power mode and let you know. Again, just in case you have something that is going from one room and going to another room, where the synchronicity will be thrown off, and then you could have problems.
Okay, terrific. So again, I'm trying to bust through some of this. Some of the important points I wanted to talk about while I got you.
Sure.
Obviously, the IV is next. There's only really a couple things I wanted to ask about it. Specifically, what connections it has, because looking at all the photos, I don't know if you have one there, but looking at all the photos, not the Kraken, the IV.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so we want to talk about the connections on the Kraken, or are we going to go to the IV? Sorry.
No, the IV. The IV.
Okay, IV.
Yeah.
I don't have one in the room right now, and the reason why is because we're getting ready to head over to Dallas RAP.
Oh, that's right. Nice.
It's in a container already, ready to go. So, but do you have any pictures on you there or no? Did we send any pictures?
No, but I guess my question, it's really basic questions. What are the connectors on it?
I think Connor's on the chat. If Connor's on the chat, maybe he can post a picture in there.
Okay. So what connections does it have? That was my first question on that. Is it just an in and out water, basically?
So I feel like I need to clarify on this one, because I've gotten, we've gotten a lot of things where people think that, you're going to buy the IV for $129 and it's going to test your alkalinity, and that is not the case. IV stands for isolated vessel. Mm-hmm. Well, the word, it's a vessel. It's not a controller. It's not an alkalinity tester. It's a vessel. It's just something that facilitates and makes it look nice. So you can actually put, so at the top, and I'm sorry I have no pictures, but at the top there's 4 little lines. They're the size of a water line, like the dosing lines.
Okay.
So, and it'll come with 4 long little hard pipettes, tubes. Okay, so you attach the dosing line to those, and that delivers water to the vessel. The vessel has a steering, magnet, and the IV itself has a little motor in there. That's it, which is driven by a 12-volt port. But it also has 2 larger holes to hold a pH probe and a salinity probe.
Right.
So what we're giving you is a beaker / line / probe holder to make everything easier for you. It's almost like it's a convenience.
It's a convenience, or it's an accessory.
It's an accessory. But the brains and the work, the dosing pumps, are the one, an example would be the X10.
Yeah.
So you grab pump 1 X10 is your salt water in on your alkalinity reactor. Pump 2 is the one that goes to your reagent, the acid, and pump 3 goes to your waste.
Right.
And that's what you do. Pump 4 could be a saltwater in for your second tank. So the IV could test 2 different tanks with the same IV and test and give you different, give you 2 alkalinity readings. But again, the dosing pumps are on the X10, or you could use a smart, high-quality doser like the FX STP. You can dial it down to like 3 milliliters per minute, or you can. We have an upcoming. It is a simple 1.1 milliliter dosing pump from Camor.
Okay. I think you showed it off at MACNA. I think I saw it.
I think just like the one I know, the one that comes to my mind right now is Bulk Reef Supply. They have a 1.1 dosing pump out there, which I thought it was genius, because it's hard to find a dosing pump that can give you that low, of volume accurately. So, Camor is also, it's like Camor is coming out with one, so now you have another option to purchase, either TRS or the.
On the IV, I guess my main question is, where does it just have a hole on the top where all of it feeds in?
So it technically has 4 small line holes. So that could be your reagent, your waste, saltwater 1, saltwater 2. And then it has 2 larger holes at the top that hold the probe. And that's how the water comes in. So if you have an alkatronic, it's kind of like the lines coming into the alkatronic beaker, the glass beaker.
Oh, okay.
Those lines. That's what it is.
Okay. And is it something that opens up that you could, if you ever have to clean it or anything? Yes. Okay. I was just curious.
You have, in order to clean it, it's like the alkatronic. In order to clean it, you take the probe out, you wipe the probe, and then to clean it, you lift the line so you can pull out the beaker, and then you can wash the beaker, put the beaker back, push the lines down. It's the same thing. Think of the alkatronic. Think of that section of the alkatronic where the water beaker is.
Okay.
That's the IV without all the other parts of it.
I see. So that brings me to, I think, the bigger point of the IV. I understand it completely. I know what you're saying. Are you guys prepared? And how are you going to... I assume you're going to put this in big, bold letters on your website. Are you guys prepared for the salinity issues? I know that the IV, if they use an IV, right, they put the salinity probe in the IV, you're probably never going to hear from them. But we all know not everyone's going to buy an IV. So they're going to want to put it in their sump, right?
Correct.
So I don't know how to ask the question other. Are you guys prepared for this? Are you guys... What's the...
Yes.
I mean...
and the thing about it is that it's like we have done everything possible. We have software, we have hardware that isolates. We're also using a K10 probe instead of a K1, so that helps. But at the end of the day, if somebody has some kind of stray voltage in there, there's nothing we can do. And that is the reason why we're encourage people to use the IV.
Right.
The IV. So if it gets to the point where in your tank you're having problems, there's 2 things you can do. You can replace heater, replace pumps, replace whatever's causing the stray voltage, or the simpler version is just pull the salinity probe out, put it in the IV, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Right. I'm coming from a personal from a personal standpoint, looking at you guys as I don't want you guys to experience any problems, because I love everything you're doing. My suggestion, and you guys could take it with whatever, is to put it in big, bold letters on your website. The salinity probe needs to be in this. I think that would be a good idea.
I mean, Derek, we were one of the biggest. People kept asking us, when are you coming with a salinity probe? When are you?
Right.
We were like, look, we're not going to do something that's already been done, and there's a lot of problems. You can look out there and see that it works for maybe 50% of the people out there, and the other 50% are getting crazy readings all over the place. And so then
it's true.
We figured out how we could do this, and basically came up with isolating the the reading, but it's not the end of
Oh.
what we're going to do with salinity either. This is just
good. So you're going to
so-
tell me what else you're going to do, right? So everyone, will be at ease.
The funny thing about it is that the salinity probe was kind of like we weren't even thinking about salinity at that point. We were just thinking about alkalinity.
Mhm.
And we developed the IV strictly for alkalinity, because obviously you have to bring the water out of the tank to test it. You can't do it in the tank. So then we're thinking, it's like, we looked at each other and we're like, wait a minute, can we just stick a probe in here? Salinity probe, and we're like, okay, you know what? And the salinity probe is going to be connected to the same X10 that has the pH. They're both on the same board, so you can actually isolate them because they're all connected to the same exact board. So we're like, yes.
So of course,
it was almost like an accident kind of a thing.
So of course, the next point would have to be, why not sell the IV and the X10 together? Like, it should be a package, shouldn't it?
We could.
We can't. I mean, that's the one thing about it, is that we developed, like, the Pro Pack. We have the starter pack, and we have the Pro Pack. So the X10 is going to be a Pro Pack. There's going to be a starter pack that you can purchase that way. Yes.
Because I think that would be huge. I mean, that'd be. I love it. I was telling people I'm gonna probably just get the IV for my system. Again, even though I don't have a HYDROS, I have my Neptune, of course. But I think it would work great for my Neptune too. I mean, I do.
Going back to the beginning of the call, when we were talking about the price of the X10 for $799, in addition to what I told you that was there, you also can test alkalinity.
Exactly, which is huge.
Does that make it a little more enticing at $799?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't look at it as wrong or right. I look at it as I'm hopeful. I look at it as I hope people buy it and they understand the cost and what they're getting for it.
We are essentially giving alkalinity away in the software. I mean, because we can tell you how to do it if you have the pumps.
Like I said, if you have an FX STP or you have the Camor 1.1 milliliter, you don't need the X10 to test alkalinity.
Correct. Yeah, you just use any one of your controllers.
Now, obviously, will the alkalinity precision? Obviously, it's good. The precision is based on the pumps and the components. It's like, the quality of a dish is based on the ingredients. So I mean, obviously, if you get an X10, you're going to have a much higher precision than if you get a Camor 1.1 milliliter or a BRS 1.1 milliliter.
That's a big deal. I don't know if I think people understand, but I just want to reiterate something. They're basically making a product that allows you to test alkalinity with any of their, essentially, I'm going to say, you still have to have a pH probe, you still have to have pumps, but they're making a test that's so important for our tanks from any of their products. I don't know if people can understand how big of a deal that is. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it's you can get a $60 control. I don't know how much your cheapest controller is. I'm just throwing a number out. $69, I think, is the cheapest controller, and it will test alkalinity essentially if you already have existing pumps and you have this. Hell, I have pumps sitting in my garage. I can go grab, as long as it's to 1.1, right? It's got to be a. It's got to be a small one.
It's just like anything else. You can't grab a 40 milliliter pump and run it for 0.1 milliliters, because that means you have to run it for 0.6 seconds. There's no way that pump can turn on and turn off and react correctly and accurately at that point. So, this is the one thing that I tell people constantly. If you're going to, you need to know what you're dosing in order to buy the pump that works for it. If you're dosing lanthanum, which you're going to be dosing 0.5 milliliters, 0.1 milliliters, 1 milliliter, don't use a 40 milliliter per minute pump. It's not going to give you accurately. You need to be using. So always buy a pump whose native flow rate is closest to what you're going to be using it most of the time.
Right, and I kind of was mentioning that. I mean, you're essentially that's just. I mean, most of us reefers. I'm not going to say all of us, but most of us have been doing this for as long as they have tons of just spare junk in their garage. And like me, I have some spare pH probes. Maybe I have a 1.1 doser somewhere, but
Yeah.
I'm going out and buying a $60 to $70 controller, and now I can test alkalinity essentially with pre-existing products. And that's huge.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't say how huge that is, guys. If I know I've explained it a few times, but it's huge.
And it would have been easy for us to say, you can only test alkalinity if you have the X10. How easy would have done? I mean, it would have been so easy for us to do that, but we're like, that's not who we are. Maybe other companies do it, but that's not what we do.
Agreed. So let's
I
see.
look at it, Derek, as if we can make more successful hobbyists and reefers, then it's best. It's better for everybody in the hobby and the industry.
People are gonna always, want the greatest and the most and the stuff, but there's always going to be one of those people that just want to get as much as they can for
Exactly.
least amount of money they want. And you know what? You're gonna get 100 people that are gonna spend $30, and you're gonna get 10 people. I don't know. These are way off. And you're gonna get 10 people that are gonna spend $300, right? Well, the 100 people are gonna be buying more and more and more over the years, times 100. Whereas those 10 people, they might only buy one or two things. So it's the right thing to do. So I commend you on that as well.
I mean, and I'm glad you understand that,
Yep.
because it's like when you develop products, it's not just developing a product. There is a lot.
You
there's a
didn't
lot
develop the
of-
TDS meter just for Derek? That's what I heard earlier.
There's a lot of people online that it's like, oh, you should have done this. Oh, this doesn't cost that much money, or you should be. Why am I paying this much money? And it's like, nothing is that black and white. There's a lot more things going on, and until you actually need developing a product, it's very hard to wrap your head around it.
So one thing I definitely wanted to ask before, I don't know how much time you guys have. We've been going for a while. I do want to ask this because this is what I've been waiting to ask you guys since last time you were here. I think I know the answer, unfortunately. Maybe I can convince you otherwise. Okay, we all know, everyone in my channel knows, and everyone that buys HYDROS knows, the number one reason they buy HYDROS is the simplicity of using the product. That I can't tell you it's for anything else other than, not anything else. I can't tell you that's the number one reason people buy CoralVue HYDROS is because how easy and simple it is to program. I mean, that's it. That's the reason you guys are selling this product like you are, like hotcakes, is mainly because it's simple. Okay, now, what about Derek? So you got people as well that want to do some crazy stuff. Have you ever thought about opening up your software to an advanced type mode, or something that would allow crazy people like myself to be able to do, without having to go through all the GUI, just maybe typing like a line code, or like something that they can create their own programming with? Has that ever come up, and has it ever been a thought?
We have those generics, and we have the combiners, which
Right.
allow you to do if statements, nested if statement, complex if statements, and and ors, nested and and ors, which is something that the other controllers don't even come close to it. I think that's the biggest misconception that we see online all the time. People think that the HYDROS is simple, but simple doesn't mean it can't do complicated stuff. Now, yes, of course, for you guys, your programmers, yes, myself included, it's a lot easier for me just to write the line of code than...
It doesn't even have to be line code. It could be just a basic, hey, I want to do this, and this is the steps I need to take to do it. I just find, I'm coming from a techie programmer point of view. It just is really complex for me to do all of that.
Let me put it this way. So on a generic, let's say you grab a generic, and the generic has two different inputs. Inputs like temperature and leak detector. Let me turn on this generic if my leak detector is dry, and or the temperature is above 70 degrees. Now, on the HYDROS, you can say and, or you can say or. You have the option. Do the other controllers give you an option for and or? They don't. Okay.
But you do have to create multiple things, right?
Let me create. Okay, so let me create. That's one generic. Now I'm going to grab another generic and I'm going to do something the same. I'm going to create another generic that says is skimmer water level and the pH. And now I want to combine those two things that have two inputs inside. Let me grab a combiner. So now I can grab generic 1 and generic 2. And with the combiner, I said, okay, turn this combiner if generic 1 and generic 2 are true, or turn this combiner if generic 1 or generic 2 are true. Does the other control allow you to do that?
No. But
so you see what I'm saying?
No. I totally understand. You're definitely explaining it. I understand it completely. Again, it's more of an ask or a wonder. Okay. Is there a way to simplify that in a way where someone can literally just, I got 5 outlets. If this and this and this and this do this, then do this, without doing all of that rigmarole. There's just a lot involved.
Because what happens with okay, I think that the biggest thing is a generic uses inputs as inputs. So it's kind of like a double negative. It's an input. An input is defined as something that brings information to the system, like a temperature sensor, a pH sensor, a leak detector. That's considered an input. A generic grabs inputs. You can put a generic. You say grab input leak detector, skimmer sensor, water sensor, and pH, and then turn it on. That we do. A combiner grabs outputs. So I could say with a combiner, I can say on a combiner, I can go skimmer pump, return pump, and lights, plus a flow pump. If those things are true, then turn this combiner out. So there's ways of doing it as well. Our biggest, one of the biggest things that we did when we were thinking about it is we were thinking of how can we bring complex programming into HYDROS without actually having to write code. And the one thing that came to mind, and I know some programmers don't like it, but at the end of the day, it allows non-programmers to do programming, is IFT. That's what it is. It's a WYSIWYG that walks you through the process, but at the end of the day, it ensures that the syntax is correct. Because answer me this, Derek. One of the biggest problems we see with other controllers is that people have the right syntax, but sometimes they don't have the correct line order.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest things you guys do is your alerts. Your alerts are far better than all of them.
Exactly. But we're always talking about it. At the beginning of the HYDROS, one of the concepts was to, in the roadmap is to allow people to tap into this system and create their own classes for those programmers. Create your own functions.
Right.
That's something that we haven't forgotten, but we also going back to the beginning of.
Maybe I got an idea. Priority. Maybe you open that up only to people that can pass a test. I'm just saying. I mean, again, everything you're saying, I totally understand. I'm just looking at it more from a programmer, obviously, an aspect, and I guess it would be nice to just be able to get into the meat and potatoes a little bit,
Right.
And I get why you can't. I mean, I know why, because I mentioned earlier before I asked my question was you guys want it to be simple for people. Why would you do that? It defeats the whole purpose, But again, someone asked a question.
It's the proverbial one size fits all against the 80.
Hey, you made TDS meters. It can happen.
If
Someone-
you ask enough, I'll get sick and tired.
Hey, I gotta be honest. I don't ask you guys for a lot. I'm pretty good. Someone's talking about 5 days of charting water parameters. I guess there's a limit. I don't chart my water parameters with my HYDROS, so is that something
One of
maybe
things
in
that-
the?
one of- you know, the one of the things that we're adding, and I can say it freely here. I'm not committing, so please don't quote me on this. But is we will give you a way to export that into like a comma delimited file.
Okay, that'd be good.
All this data, you can pull it in. You'll be able to pull it into a comma delimited file, and then for us techie people, I mean, if you give me comma delimited and Excel, I'm happy. You know, I can create graphs, I can create macros, I can automate all this stuff, and that would be great. So that's one thing that I can't tell you when it is, because again, it's a priority list, but it's definitely on our roadmap. It's a way for you to export this data into a comma delimited file, where you can do whatever you want with it.
Awesome. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else has any questions. I mean, have you guys thought about making?
Any questions from the girls that were there?
The girls have been they've been removed multiple times. Apparently, Jeff was on here wanting strippers to come on. I told him no. Although Connor is there, isn't Connor there? Connor can give us a little show if he wants.
Well, you know what? Devin is sleep deprived, so he's up for anything right now.
Let's see. Couple things. Have you guys thought about making humidity sensors? Is that something you thought about?
We thought about it, but also, and we have this, shameless plug, this forum, that CoralVueHydros.com, and there's a DIY section in there, and there's a few people that have purchased really cheap analog, Jeff Bernadette, cheap analog humidity sensors that you can easily connect to the 0 to 10 volt port, and on top of that, he's actually created the instructions for it.
Oh, awesome!
So, if you go to the DIY section and look for humidity sensors, he gives you the link, he gives you what you need, and walks you through the entire process of how to put it into your HYDROS. And it is super simple. Our 0 to 10 volt port interface or input, it is incredibly versatile.
Oh,
it is one of the things that does not get the credit it deserves.
That's a good question, Emmanuel. Let me ask the first question here. Update on flow sensors. Any update on them?
I'm hoping they'll be here in December. We've been showing them at the shows, but we'll be finished with them. But everything really coming down to packaging and delays with that. Product's ready.
Yes.
Emmanuel had a really good question here. I like this one. Have you ever thought about putting a redundant cellular built into your devices?
Ooh.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
You can make a little bit of income from a monthly charge for that.
But do you know what? I would.
Oh no, cellular companies make that. I'm sorry.
I would say, but the bigger question for me is like, how come router companies haven't thought about that?
I know, right?
I would be more interested on my router, so I have home internet access at least for emergencies. Like I'm on vacation, my internet goes out, but I can still tap into cell phone. To me, I'm already thinking bigger here, which is don't limit it to the HYDROS. It should be on the router.
Totally. But yeah, I know where he's going with this. I like having my Ring alarm system has a backup,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And your alarm system has a backup. So, but if you have a router that has a backup cellular connection, that'd be kind of cool.
Agreed. Another one I wanted to ask you is displays. Has any discussions ever about making a display? Any type of display?
The problem with displays is cost.
Okay.
You know what? You can purchase a Amazon Fire tablet for like, what is it,
$40.
40, 50
Yeah,
bucks.
they're cheap.
We-
Yeah.
We couldn't.
We can't beat that price. We just can't.
I was thinking more
Unless
of
we put
a.
something dirt cheap like LCD, which is really
Yeah,
that
but then the
technology
quality is like,
fading out.
Okay. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to add or ask. We talked about a lot.
Good.
Um,
Well, we don't have to do it all today. I mean, we can
Yeah,
come
we'll
back.
come
We come
back.
back another show, no problem.
oh, absolutely. This
I
was
think The
great.
biggest thing with us, Derek, is we haven't even been doing this 2 years. Actually,
I know.
Halloween usually we do
I
our
know.
2-year anniversary. So,
If you recall, I
got a
think
lot
I had you
more.
on.
We got a lot more.
If I
We got a lot
recall,
more.
I think I had you guys on when you released HYDROS, like a week or two later. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
That's when I
And it's
had you on.
No, we're constantly. There's a lot of things on the pipeline. There's a lot of things. Well, not necessarily here, but in his system and my system that we have that we're working on as well.
Yes, I
So,
already have my
you're-
my investigators coming to your house. I already have it.
Yeah.
It's already
We
being
don't-
taken care of.
We're not done. We're not done yet. And just when you think that we're not doing anything, we came out with the X10 and the Kraken. Before you know it, we'll have some other things out there.
Yeah.
Listen, I know we mentioned this before, but I was so happy when you guys said you're announcing something, regardless of what it was. The fact that you guys announced something new at MACNA and your competitor didn't. Listen, from me to you, I thought it was really a great thing to see something new coming from you guys. And it's not just the fact that something new is coming. You guys are always coming up with new stuff. And, little old me who has a system, which again, I like my system, the fact that they haven't produced anything in God knows how many years, it's nice to see that there's a player there that's listening and creating stuff that people want.
One of the biggest things that and we had this conversation, I had this conversation with several people at the MACNA show, and is that competition fosters innovation. And at the end of the day, when there's competition, both end users or all end users, and they're the winners.
Right.
So by us here at HYDROS coming out with new things is pushing the other controllers companies out there to come up with new things, which in turn pushes us to keep coming out with new things. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, who's the one that benefits the most?
Us.
It's the end user.
Yeah.
It's the end user. So as a joke, I was telling the people, when people would come in from Neptune and say, hey, you guys are pushing and we're getting all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I know. And I was like, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Because us pushing them pushes us, which pushes them, and at the end of the day, all this pushing around just makes it better for the end.
It's such a small hobby. It really is. I mean, I know that because my other hobby, reptiles, is like ridiculous huge compared to this.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
having all these different options for people is great. It makes it so this hobby gets bigger and more fun, all this new stuff. Like imagine 10 years ago if we had a HYDROS, just imagine.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome,
We thought about it very hard. I mean, because we've seen, before we even got into HYDROS, and we had this conversation with you a couple of years ago, where we looked at other controllers that came out and the controllers that have come and gone.
Oh, yeah.
And what do they have in common? That they all had one thing in common. They all try to beat the other controllers, but they fell into the too complicated trap.
Right.
Where it's like, yes, you're creating a controller that is better, but it's just as complicated as the other.
Don't get me
controllers
started
out
on
there.
some of them. Oh my God.
Exactly. So we really, and it's a true testament to Dave right here to kind of not fall into that trap of trying to create something the same, but create something that was completely different, which is not easy to do, especially when there's so many controllers out there that have come and failed.
Yeah.
You know.
And
Everybody expected us to fail. Derek,
yeah.
they wanted us to fail.
Yeah.
Of course.
There's no
and you bring up a little bit of a sore subject, but it's not that big of a sore subject. But there's a lot of people just hating on people about different products back and forth, and it's like, just have fun. It's a hobby, It's just I'm like, you guys make products. I try. Everyone's like, Derek, you're only gonna always like Neptune. I go, well, that's not true. That's just not true. I'm gonna give everyone a chance, and. Listen, I gave Reef a chance, and they decided to not listen to me. And did you see they created a?
I was wondering when that was going to come out.
Hey, I waited till the end of the stream to mention, guys. Guess what? There is a new Reef out.
Yes.
And Derek is definitely not getting it.
We're happy that we came to your show and here.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we clarified a few things in there.
Absolutely did. Specifically,
explain the reasoning
on the Wi-Fi thing. I think that was huge to explain how your devices work without Ethernet.
Are we right? Are we wrong? We don't know. Are we locked in that? No. I mean, if technology changes, sometime now, and all of a sudden you can do something like that, we're definitely gonna see it. If the ESP32 chip comes out with something that allows you for better Wi-Fi, why not? So we're not. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to make the product better for you, because it's a bit of a selfish thing. If you don't have any problems, that means I don't have to deal with the problems.
That's, and again, it comes back to a personal standpoint. When I see all these things and attacks and all, I feel bad for people. It's like, guys, they're doing their best. Everyone's trying to do their best to make us succeed. So just be happy with what you got, and
you have to. I mean, one of the prerequisites when you work at HYDROS is in the resume. Do you have thick skin?
Yeah.
You're gonna need to have. I kind of do after 2 years of doing this, but in the beginning, no.
It's brutal.
Exactly. You know what? I will have, and I say this with in a very, very peaceful way. It's like, I'm willing to have a conversation with anybody. I'm always willing to have a conversation with anybody.
That's that's great.
But also, complaining is not a conversation.
And again, I say that all the time, and I wish I'm so happy I'm not in your guys, Neptune, any of those guys' shoes. Not just you, but when someone complains, you're not going to get help. Just try to be nice and understand that we are human beings and we all have feelings, and people are trying really hard to make things awesome for us in the hobby. It should never be dramatic in our hobby. It just really shouldn't, And trust me, I've been I've been known to go at people, but I do it because it makes me happy and I have fun with it. But that's another story.
All right.
But anyway, we've been going for a long time. And I just PM'd Connor, so if you don't mind asking him what I PM'd between me and you guys behind the scenes, secret stuff. Secret stuff. So thank you so much, guys. This has been a long time coming, and I hope to have you on again. I know you guys are going to release more stuff. I made sure not to mention when any of this is being released, because I'm sure you guys get that every single time you speak to someone in the reefing hobby. It's going to be next year, guys. And if it's not next year, it's going to be the year after. And if it's not then, it's going to be the year after.
No, it'll be next year.
Well, Mike, see, someone that already said something about the volume. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. Mike, I'm sorry, but I have a good mic, and they have a good mic, and they're far away, and anyway, doesn't matter. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, Derek.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm sure I'll come up with more stuff when this all gets released, because I'm going to be excited to try it out myself. So,
fantastic. Well,
thank you.
You have a wonderful night.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.
Good night. Thank you.